Okay, let's get started. I'd like to welcome everyone. Thanks for coming down in person or attending online. Um, this is the third CSAG project preview presentation. We're going to be following a very similar format to previous years. But first, we'll go through the agenda. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a new CSAG member icebreaker or anyone that's in the room that might want to introduce themselves. Then we're going to go over the project presentation goals and the content team. Then we're going to pass it over to Avocet Greenwell to talk about streets, sidewalks, and trails. Then we're going to go over to the Traffic Bureau to talk about traffic calming and safety and traffic signals. Then we're going to pass it over to Corbin to talk about bridges and structures. And then we're going to have an open discussion. And then after that, we'll have an opportunity for member updates and anything that you want to bring before the group. All right, so first, let's just do a little icebreaker. Is anyone online or in person that's new to the group? I see we got one person back here. Would you like to introduce yourself? Do you want to come up to the microphone for those online? Yeah.
My name's Antonio. See, I've lived in Pittsburgh for 22 years. I live in Brookline. And what about my lived experience? I would say probably just my experience with transportation. I'm pretty passionate about that. Fun facts, I have a dog, Brando. He's a chocolate lab. He's pretty cute. And yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it. Is there anyone online? Jan, is anyone? I think we have Sam online that I saw is new. Sam, would you be willing to go ahead, Sam?
Hi, yeah. I'm Sam Ryan. I'm a recent grad from IUP. I just started interning with the SPC, doing active transportation work, studied planning. I'm really interested in active transportation, and I have lived in Pittsburgh for about a week now, living in the Strip District. And a fun fact is I love to sew. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Sam. Welcome. That was a nice kind of slap back delay on those vocals there. Did you guys hear that online?
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll just roll with it. Okay. So the first slide of the presentation says Complete Streets Construction Overview 2026, presented on May 20th, 2026. There's 4 photos, one of a brick and block zone street. We have Stanton Avenue crosswalk with a bike lane. We have a beautiful stretch of sidewalk on Summerdale and an upgraded traffic signal at the intersection of Allegheny and Western. This slide says the goals of the presentation. The first item is to present an overview of DOMI's 2026 projects that relate to the goals and principles outlined in the City of Pittsburgh's Complete Streets policy. Number 2, to provide an opportunity for CSAG members to learn more about these project types from the project managers. And the third is to build community capacity among CSAG members to foster a sense of ownership and understanding and empowerment related to the projects. This slide is called Content Team. These are the DOMI staff members that will be presenting today, and we'll just go around the table up here for people to introduce themselves in order. My name is Jeff Leonard. I'm a senior transportation planner. I'm the CSAG staff facilitator.
I'm Avocet Greenwell. I'm a staff engineer in our streets division, and I mostly work on critical sidewalk apps and pedestrian projects.
I'm Katie Trubo. I'm a project engineer with the Traffic Bureau, and I mostly work with neighborhood traffic calming, clean streets.
Hi, I'm Paige Anderson. I'm a project manager in the traffic division, and I do mostly Zero safety work.
My name is Dan Rodriguez. I'm a project manager in the traffic bureau as well. I do traffic signals. And Corbin Kramer, I'm a staff engineer in our structures division. And I work on all of our structures, so bridges, retaining walls, steps, slopes, landslides.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so now we're going to talk about streets, sidewalks, and trails. Do you want me to handle this title slide? Sure. Okay, so the primary goal of these programs that Avocet's going to be presenting on is to develop safe and accessible connections to essential community resources, such as schools, transit stops, business districts, and parks. And on the right, we have a photo of a brand new sidewalk, beautiful piece of sidewalk on McCandless Avenue. Do you want to? Sure.
Okay. So first up is our transit stop improvement projects. This is a newer program that was funded for the first time last year. So these are our confirmed projects for construction this year. We're currently trying to add more. Sandusky Street at General Robinson, we're just going to be adding a shelter. Center and Graham and Forbes and Shady, numbers 2 and 5 on the map, are going to be bump outs with transit shelters added. I know, seeing some cheering, I agree. Penn and Negley Ave, there's an existing shelter, but there's a blockstone sidewalk strip right in front of the shelter, getting to the edge of the curb. So we're going to be replacing that with concrete for improved accessibility. And Penn and Sheridan, there's an existing bump out, so we'll be adding a shelter. And there's a map on this screen, and it shows the locations of all of those. Sandusky and General Robinson is in the north side, right near the War Hall. The other 4 are kind of located throughout the East End, and we are, again, trying to figure out more locations throughout the city for those this year.
And just as a reminder, all of these projects, I put them in the context of their location if they're in a high-need community. DOMI has the previous goal of committing that 40% of our projects are located in high-need communities. And then also we are measuring whether the projects are on the high-injury network, which we've identified as some of our most dangerous street segments. So as you can see here, all of these transit stop improvements meet those recommended goals of 40% in high need communities, and all of them are located on the high injury network.
Okay, these are some of our more streetscape projects. So South 21st, Green Streetscape Project. There's a picture here showing the existing condition. It's in the Southside Flats in Council District 3. The existing condition is a really wide street. It's got parallel parking on both curbs and the kind of perpendicular parking in the middle of the street that currently makes it really difficult and dangerous to navigate, depending for all modes. No matter what mode you're in, it's not great for anyone. So this is kind of a map overview showing the extent of the project on South 21st between Carson Street and Josephine Street. The project description, we are going to be adding a median to manage stormwater that will include like green space for trees, perennials. That'll include sidewalk upgrades where needed on existing sidewalks. Existing sidewalks are already around 11 feet, which is great. Curb improvements as needed, upgraded lighting and signage, again, where needed. And we'll also be adding bike lanes, one on each side of the street, for a whole green streetscape complete street upgrade. Smithfield Street improvements. This is another streetscape project. Here's the map here showing Smithfield Street right downtown in the Central Business District, and a picture of the existing conditions of just straightforward street, buildings on each side. This is right near like the Five Below and Target, Council District 1. It's not a high-need community, nor on the high injury network. It goes from 6th Ave to Forbes Ave downtown in, again, the Central Business District. It'll include expanded sidewalks, upgraded pedestrian experiences. I know we're going to be doing a lot of public art on this. it's obviously kind of in the thick of a lot of the areas downtown that are getting transit upgrades. And so the bus lane here will also benefit from that. And yeah, just a streetscape project. This one is $10 as well. Penn Ave Phase 2, the map here shows Penn Ave in Bloomfield Garfield. The picture is of the pedestrian crossing at Pacific, right near the Aldi. It's in Council District 7 and 9. This one is in a high-need community. It's on the high entry network. It'll go from Evelyn Street to Graham Street, and it'll be continuing the work from Penn Avenue Phase 1, which was Evelyn heading westbound towards Matilda. And so that'll be full depth reconstruction, curb, drainage improvements, new sidewalks, improved pedestrian amenities. There's going to be a raised intersection at the intersection of the Pacific. And overall lots of improvements there. And that is currently under construction. Moving on to our trail projects, the West End Trolley Trail, our white whale. The picture here shows the map kind of pointing it out, located throughout the West End of Pittsburgh, Crafton Heights, Elliott West End, Westwood, and Council District 2. This will serve Piney community. It is on the high entry network, running from Noblestown to Steuben and or South Main Street. Says a highly anticipated project, and that is true. It's been in the works for a long time. And it'll be partially off street, partially on street, a really great bike connection for the west of the city. Bus rapid transit project. The picture here shows the new Red bus lane. I believe that's along 6th near Center downtown. The project is located downtown, in Bluff or Uptown, and in all 4 Oakland neighborhoods across 4 different council districts. It's along the high entry network. It serves tiny communities. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with it since the downtown loop has now been completed, but work is ongoing in Uptown and Oakland currently to get a lot of these sidewalk stations, ADA ramps, all constructed ahead of putting in the dedicated bus infrastructure on 4th and 5th. Okay. And moving on to sidewalks. This is Summerdale out in Wind Gap, District 2. The map shows the point there and shows the previous condition of the street. You can see Chartier's playground along the left side of it with the sidewalk. So here's the map. It's not a high community, not high entry network. It runs about 500 feet from Middletown Road to the path of the park. This one has actually already been constructed, which is really great. It looks fantastic. And now connects the community directly to the playground. Stafford Avenue out in Sheridan, also in the West End, Council District 2, shown on the map here. Tiny community, yes. High entry network, no. This will be intermittent improvements between Stadium Street and Wyckoff Ave. This is a safe routes to school connection, and we're specifically kind of focusing on tying into a couple existing staircases along the route that we know that kids use a lot to get to and from school. This is Spargrove Street in Mount Washington, Council District 2, shown on the map. It's kind of that tucked back corner where you're up on Mount Washington and you have to go back down. So it's a little corner back there. It's not a high community or entry network. Our goal with this one, similarly to Stafford, is to connect to a staircase that is also planned for upgrades and help out our structure team with getting that work done. North Charles Street and Perry South, Council District 6. We're moving over to the north side. Picture shows existing conditions of a freshly paved street, but some sidewalks that definitely could use a little bit of love. It is a high community. It is not a high entry network. The extends similarly to Stafford will stretch from Wilson to Shelton, but will be intermittent improvements, including intersection upgrades of Wilson, and some ADA ramp and sidewalk targeted upgrades around bus stops and the raised crosswalks that our traffic group installed more recently. Mountain Ave down in Arlington, crossing another river, Council District 3. High community, yes. High injury network, no. This will run from Dawes Street to Parkwood Road. There's some missing sidewalks here that we got a request from the council district for. This one will also allow us to solve some drainage and ponding issues in the area. So the two birds, one stone situation with this one. Bidwood Ave in Overbrook, Council District 4 is pretty far south of the city. Neither Heine Community nor High Injury Network. It's about 1,000 feet from Sawmill Run Boulevard to Bolton Ave. Our goal with this one is to connect the community to the South Bank Station along the PRT's T line. Hopping over to the east end, we've got Meadow Street and Larimer, Council District 9. The picture shows existing conditions with a lot of missing sidewalk along some empty lots here. Heine Community, yes. High Injury Network, no. Again, this will be intermittent improvements. Our goal is to start up on Stanton and continue as far as we can down Finley Street with the hope of maybe continuing that work in the future if we don't get as far as we want to. PJ McArdle Roadway in the south side of Flats and Slopes, Council District 3. Neither Heine Community nor High Injury Network. This will run from South 10th, South 9th Street up to Arlington Ave. It looks like a lot more than it is. There's a lot of structures in there that do have like good existing sidewalk. And so our goal is to improve the sidewalk along the areas that aren't bridges that do need more refurbishment than the structures currently. Heron Ave between Bigelow and Center cuts through Bedford Dwellings, Middle Hill, Upper Hill, District 6. Heine Community, yes. High Injury Network, no. This is a grant-funded project that'll allow us to make sidewalk improvements along both sides for this whole stretch, kind of traversing the whole Hill District. And tying right into that, Center Ave in Upper Hill and Terrace Village in Council District 6. This one is a combination. It'll tie right into the sidewalk improvements on Heron Ave, and we're also doing transit stop upgrades and intersection improvements at Avalon to add shelters, bump outs for the school right nearby. It is both high need and high injury. And yeah, it'll go from Heron Ave to Avalon Street. And then we've got a couple other projects that we are working on in tandem with our traffic group. So Terminav hardscaping up in Brighton Heights, there's the existing condition with the painted chicanes and flex posts and planters you can see in the picture here. We are planning to put that into concrete this year. We've seen success with that, and so we're going to make it a little more robust. And then the second, the Lawrenceville Mobility Enhancement District was the, we're now seeing the benefits of the parking adjustments that were made in Lawrenceville, reinvesting that into Lawrenceville for improved accessibility and transportation upgrades. So this year we'll be focusing on different locations for ADA ramp and crossing upgrades.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Avocet. That was fantastic. As you can see, that's a lot of projects coming out of that group there. A lot of improved sidewalks. We are doing really good on time. Let's just take a minute or so if there's any questions related to the content that Avocet just shared. If anyone has any questions, or if you prefer, we can revisit it at the end of the presentation. All right, let's move forward. We're going to pass it over to Katie Trupo and Paige Anderson. I'll just read this slide really quick. So the primary goals of these programs are to increase safety and comfort of travel by all modes and promote pedestrian, bicycle, and transit use. The goals reference and strengthen the city's mobility principles. Some of the typical safety improvements include speed humps and tables, raised crosswalks, pedestrian refuge islands, traffic circles, chicanes, and changes to lane width. And on the right-hand side, you see a project that was installed last year on Hamilton Avenue, showing a speed hump and new signage to indicate that people are approaching a speed hump along with pavement markings.
Actually, I should mention the last picture of Hamilton was a beautiful collaboration between streets and traffic. So they were responsible for reconfiguring that whole intersection, and we came in with the speed table. So, anyways, I'm sorry. So
I
the
want to
first,
jump in for a second there real quick too, because there was also a collaboration with Public Works and Tree Pittsburgh and the Resilient Cities Catalyst to get trees installed and all of those features.
woohoo,
All right, thank you.
great photo. Great choice, Jeff. Yeah, thanks. So the first project is Bay Tree Street, which is located in Council District 1 in the Perry North neighborhood. The slide shows the current conditions. It's just a 2-lane roadway there, and you can see where it's located in the city. So not a high-need community and not on the high injury network. This will run from Perrysville to Evergreen Road. There's also a figure showing the extents here. And pretty straightforward. We'll just be doing a series of speed humps throughout the corridor. Next for Beechwood is in Point Breeze neighborhood, Council District 9. See the existing conditions with parking lanes, bike lanes in both directions. This one, another just kind of simple series of speed tables and raised crosswalks between Hastings Street and Fifth Avenue. Not on the high injury network and not high need community, but lots of parks, tons of pedestrians, so definitely.
Sure. Next, we have Crane Avenue, and this is in Beachview, Council District 4, in the West End. South Hills, really. It's not a high need community, it's not on a high injury network, but data collection did show a speeding problem. It is from Tropical to Brashear High School, so this does affect the high school and the students there. We're looking at safety upgrades to improve, make better turning movements, and speed tables, potentially a raised crosswalk. This one is in design, so we don't have a final design yet, but that is our anticipated project. Next, we have Hobart Street. This one is in Squirrel Hill South, which is Council District 5. This is right outside of Shenley Park. Not a high need community, not on the high injury network, though again, a documented speeding problem. The extents of Hobart Street is from Marino Road to Murray Ave. So again, this is from Shenley Park into Squirrel Hill. It's looking like it'll be a series of speed tables and raised crosswalks throughout the corridor.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So Iton Street is the next project. It's in the East Allegheny or Spring Garden network, or neighborhood rather, sorry, in Council District 1. So for this one, we'll be doing a series of speed tables, some parking improvements, and crosswalk upgrades, lots of bus stops here. The extents are from Concord to Bryan Street. There's a figure depicting that on the slide.
All right, now we're talking about Josephine Street and Council District 3 in the South Side Slopes neighborhood. The photo here shows the existing conditions. It's a two-lane road. I believe there is a parking lane that's not underused. So there's no cars parked in this photo. not not in a high need community or on the high entry network. But it will, it'll run from South 18th Street where we installed some safety improvements last year. So it'll connect to that project and run to 21st where we have future projects coming in that the streets division is working on. This will be a bike climbing lane because it is a hill, and so it'll connect between the proposed bike connection on South 21st and the new bike connection on South 18th along Josephine Street. So this will just be pavement markings.
Yeah, it's an old one, sorry.
Yeah, so now we're going to talk about Paulson Ave in the Lincoln, Leamington, Belmar neighborhood, Council District 9. This photo of the existing conditions just shows it's a two-way road, but there's no pavement markings on it, and it's pretty wide open. It is a high-need community. It is not on the high entry network, though there again, any of these have documented safety concerns or speeding problems. The extents on Paulson Ave will be from Dunmore Street to Leamington Ave, as this map shows. We are not sure what those proven safety countermeasures will look like, as we have not gone into design. It could include speed humps and bump outs, things like that. Footbuild upgrades.
Yeah, so Rhine Street will kind of be working with Iton Street as the one I mentioned previously. So it's another in the Spring Hill City View neighborhood in District 1. See the current conditions. We did a smaller traffic safety improvement at the intersection of Rhine and Iton maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So this will just be continuing the calming all the way up to Buente Street. So it'll be a series of speed tables, parking lanes, upgraded crosswalks, some no parking bump outs, and just daylighting the paved to improve sight lines and turning movements for buses and all the cross streets along Rhine. And then Sydney Street in the South Side Flats in Council District 3, you can see the current conditions. I think that's 28th Street. But this project will include both, it'll run between 27th Street and 28th Street. It's going to be a major improvement of the crosswalks and some daylighting of the intersections. We're also going to do turn movement calming, which will include some, not technically hardscape, but something more substantial than our flex posts to help harden those like big turning radii that you see at both of these intersections. Just kind of some improvements to loading and parking conditions and hopefully make it a safer place to walk around.
Next, we're going to talk about Stanwyck Street. This is downtown in the Central Business District, Council District 6. You can look at the I'll describe that photo real quick. So if you look at the existing conditions, this is an area where I believe 6-7 years ago, we installed the two-way cycle track on Stanwyck Street. There has been ongoing concerns with this stretch, primarily with student drop-off and pickup at City Charter School. That is creating dangerous conditions for all users, particularly the abundant transit riders, pedestrians, and cyclists that all use this road, competing needs at the same time. Next slide, please. This is not a high need community, but it is on the high injury network. So we're gonna, and the extents is from Boulevard of Allies to Forbes Ave. So it runs through 3rd and 4th Ave. What the project will be is a bike and pedestrian safety improvements that will be created by reconfiguring the road. So there is, it's kind of a complicated roadway redesign project, but if you look at it today, there's additional travel lane space. that we are going to reconfigure to add parking and loading to make the cycle track a parking protected cycle track and provide that space for primarily student drop off, but it could be used for parking and loading for general use in the business district. We will be having an engaged page posted shortly. That'll have more details if you want to dive into this project a little bit more. It's a little bit unique. It'll also include additional turn lanes and pedestrian refuge islands. Next, I'm going to talk about South 18th Street, which is in the South Side Flats and South Side Slopes, Council District 3. I mentioned this one earlier because we did do half of it last year. The extents are from East Carson to Monastery Place, although Carson through to Crossman Street has already been installed. That was installed at the end of last year, and we are waiting for utility work to wrap up to finish the project extents between Crossman and Monastery Ave. So the second half of the project that's not in will look a lot like the first half. It's along the hill, so there'll be a bike climbing lane, speed tables, raised crossings, bump outs. Next, I'm going to talk about a small bike facility project we are planning to deliver this year on 2nd Ave in the Bluff neighborhood, Council District 6. So this is right off of the photo here. You can see this is right off the 10th Street Bridge at 2nd Ave. So this is across right when you would enter the tunnel downtown. And so it's a very small connection that runs from the 10th Street Bridge to the parking lot on 2nd Ave. There is additional space on the road to reconfigure some of the lanes to add a bike network connection. There are today a wide shoulder on 10th Street Bridge that has been designed to be bike lanes. We did not finish those bike lanes because they did not connect to anything, and we didn't want people to, at the end of 10th Street Bridge, encourage cyclists to merge into traffic on 2nd Ave, which is a pretty busy road. So the idea is that those shoulders could then be turned into bike lanes on 10th Street Bridge, and then we'll add a two-way cycle track on 2nd Ave that will connect to the parking lot, which connects to the Eliza Furnace Trail. So it's a very small connection, but it will connect. It's kind of a pinch point right now between the neighborways in the South Side network and then the trail, the highly used trail on the downtown side. So this is a small gap that we're looking to close. It is on the high entry network. It is a high need community. And again, it runs from 10th Street Bridge to the Three Rivers Heritage Trail, connecting through the parking lot. Because that was this.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. Do you have multiple lists of all the safety projects or?
So yeah, we have it broken into like
Okay.
these teams.
Sorry, I wasn't sure how this was going to be organized, but we do have a number of vulnerable roadway user or just smaller scale traffic safety improvement projects that are usually restricted to maybe like an intersection or we're not seeing like longer segments like a typical traffic calming or one of Page's complex intersection or whatever. Anyway, sorry, I'm babbling. But so for the north and south side, we're going to do improvements at Industrial Boulevard and Roswell Street, Chartiers and Allendale, Stratmore and East Steuben, Steuben and Sanctus, Brighton and Cambronne, Brighton and Orchley, California and Antrim. That'll actually be a raised crosswalk, and Carnahan and Crane. And so many of these are just quick build. They may or may not include vertical elements, but most often it's a crossing and crosswalk improvement or upgrade, and those kind of painted curb extensions that we call daylighting. So in the East End, Kirkpatrick and Reed, plans for Robinson and Fifth, Bates and McKee Place, Bigelow and Dithridge is getting a nice crossing upgrade and some changes to the parking configuration to improve sight lines. I know we've got the Residence, I think is the name of it, on Bigelow, and so there's a lot of pedestrian activity and to improve the safety there. Also Baum and South Graham, Penn and Beatty, Highland and Jackson, South Highland and Howe, Braddock and Thomas, Murray and Welford, Murray and Morrowfield, and Shady and Ford.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Katie and Paige. We're doing really good on time. Are there any questions for the projects that we just presented in that segment?
I'll just add that most of these, I think all of these projects will have engage pages online that many are posted today with some details. I'm also just going to add a caveat I should have said at the beginning. If you haven't noticed, utilities are kind of insane this year. So a lot of these do have utility conflicts that we are working through, but we anticipate that it will affect many of these projects and potentially delay many of them. But that doesn't mean that we're not pursuing them. We'll try to keep the engaged pages updated, but it's been a real whack-a-mole situation this year with utility.
Thanks for that context, Paige. All right, moving forward, we're going to move into traffic signals. So
Jeff, I have a
responsible.
question. I raised my hand. I don't know.
Go ahead.
Am I on? Is this thing on?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. I just feel like I've been ignored. Yeah, I just had two quick questions. One was about the Stanwyck signal, like glad that's happening. I was just curious if there is any opportunity to sort of revisit the timing of the lights there while you're doing this project. My experience is that like they seem to be green a little bit longer than they need to be. Like it'll be green, and and then if you're trying to be in the bike lanes, you're waiting for that signal. And I just find that a lot of people aren't waiting for the signal because it just takes so long and the intersection gets cleared and then people just like run the red light, right? So just kind of putting that out there. Maybe there's an opportunity. I don't think you have to, you don't have to answer it now unless you have an answer, but more of a suggestion, I guess.
For sure. Is there a specific intersection you're talking about, like Stanwyck and Forge, or all of them on that stretch?
The ones with the bike signals. So Stanwyck's for Stanwyck's Penn/Liberty, whatever. I don't know. I know the Penn Liberty intersection isn't on the project scope, but maybe it's an opportunity to kind of revisit that signal timing is all.
Yeah, we can absolutely do it.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'll just add that we are already looking at Liberty and Stanwyck's because that one's come up with a few of our stakeholder meetings, and we actually did a field view this morning. So I think we will be making time changes at Liberty and Stanwyck's because PDP and PPG Place both brought that up.
Amazing, great.
Yep.
My second question is about the Paulson corridor. So like the bike plan in that northeast direction from East Liberty Boulevard is sort of like one of those hazy lines. It didn't necessarily like pick either Paulson or probably Lincoln. It seems like Lincoln is emerging as like the solid line on the bike plan. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure that is, it seems like that's what's emerging. So is that correct to think that like Lincoln is now the solid line and Paulson is maybe not on the bike plan, or is Paulson still on the bike plan? Just kind of want to get a little sense of how that's playing out.
Yeah, that's a great comment. Thanks, Eric. I'll look back and check in on that. It does look, from my memory now, I think maybe this is upcoming in the next part of this project, but the Lincoln Bridge is being renovated to include, and is going to include ideally some like, Larimer Bridge. Oh, right.
Pretty much a tie.
2 Paulson. Perfect. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I'll look into that. I know we're starting to, because of these bridge connections, zero in on that connection there, but that's a good note while we're looking at Paulson Ave already to see if we can, anything we can do to future-proof that connection. So thanks, Eric.
Sure thing. That's all. Thanks, guys.
All right, any other comments on the previous section? Okay, let's move forward. So traffic signals. DOMI is responsible for the maintenance and operation of about 615 traffic signals and 92 flashing devices. We are routinely replacing, upgrading, and assessing the need for traffic signalization on an ongoing basis. And on the right-hand side of the slide, you see a photo of the crew out in the street upgrading Boulevard of the Allies and Ward. And so now we're going to pass it over to Dan Rodriguez.
The first project up here is an ongoing one. It's the North Avenue Signal Safety Project. This is a corridor project that covers five signals from Arch to James. It's a picture of the map and looking towards 279 on north of Allegheny Commons on the right. This project is in the central north side Allegheny Center, East Allegheny quarters in Council District 1. This is not in a high-need community, but it is on a high-need network. This is a pretty big change to North Avenue. We are putting in concrete medians and restricting travel to one lane in each direction. So really formalizing, the context appropriate roadway. There's going to be upgraded traffic signals from what's out there today that will have full ADA accommodations, new curb ramps, countdown timers, ATS buttons, improved street lighting. This is going to have some transit improvements as well at North and Federal. We've created something we haven't done before where buses will be able to pull over separate from vehicle travel, make the stop, and then get you jump. So they'll be able to get out in front of traffic and continue on and provide reliable transit. This is going to finish up this summer, I believe, or by the end of the year. You've probably already seen a lot of work down there. Good landscaping as well, and streetscape and beautification. It's a pretty exciting project. All right, next is the replacement project at Imperial and South 10th Street. This is in the South Side Flats, Council District 3. This is at the end of the 10th Street Bridge. The picture showing looking towards the bridge. This is one of our pretty standard replacement projects. Every year we get a chance through grant funding, things like that, to 3-4 signals. We are always trying to balance the needs of different neighborhoods, spread everything out, and not. All of us can think of signals that need to be replaced right by their homes. We are doing more and more each year. These ones like this are nice that we design in-house, so it gives our engineers a chance to get better skills designing. We can streamline projects even faster. We do kind of a pretty standard replacement. So this is just loopholes, ADA improvements, bringing everything up to the current standards, brighter signals. This one we had done some lane configuration changes last year, where we took away a left turn lane to improve some bike facilities on Muriel and Neighborway. So this will be probably the end of this year. Winter will be building this one. All right, up next is Brownsville at Maytide and Sankey. This is in Carrot, Council District 4. There's a view looking towards, looking down Brownsville towards Sankey. Any of you are familiar with this intersection? It's pretty complex. It's a split intersection where Sankey and Maytide are offset, and there's a chunk in the middle that's Brownsville. So navigating this intersection can get pretty uncomfortable for pedestrians. It's pretty unsafe for turning vehicles and things like that. We're trying to improve that through this project. A lot of the improvements came from the Brownsville corridor safety study, which finished up a couple of years ago. Kind of incorporated those into the design here. So what we're going to do here is upgrade, obviously, all the signal poles and bring everything up to current standards. We're going to formalize 3 pavement markings. The middle of the intersection will have visible left turn lanes that will have actual flashing yellow arrows now, which is the new PennDOT standard. And we will be able to kind of clean up the no man's land that it kind of operates in now. We're cleaning up parking to kind of, I guess, kind of remove some of the like complete parking that kind of makes it even harder to navigate or for pedestrians to be seen around corner cars. We're going to be adding a bump out at the safety approach where the bus stops now. Kind of just give more space on the tight sidewalks on Brownsville and kind of slow turns there as well. And then one of the bigger things we're doing is on the other side, on the main side, we are adding a concrete splitter median, function as like pedestrian refuge. And it will also slow traffic approaching the intersection and make that crossing more comfortable. We're also adding a crosswalk across Brownsville on the other side of main that doesn't exist today. And then refreshing all the pavement markings and all these signals to be pedestrian intervals, 35 seconds. And try to be serve everyone. All right, up next is Fifth Avenue and Morwood Avenue. This is in Shade Science Road North, Council District 8. This is a joint project, which is pretty cool with CMU. They had done some work on Morwood last year or two, and working with them, we were able to work on the design together, split up some of the work. They're going to be improving sidewalk and widening it on their right of way. Some of the people have been over there. They've already expanded bus boarding. But the sidewalk for outbound, it's much wider now. And we are going to be the traffic signal. So part of this replacement, it's not in the high need community, but it is on the high need network. I've been municipalities here, so we're really trying to solve for a lot of things here. The biggest change is that we are adding a southbound bike lane intersection that then will meet that CMU is building for shared use pattern. So instead of now where you're in a shared lane vehicles and you kind of get pinched going south on Morwood at the cyclist, we'll now be able to like mount up on the sidewalk, shared use path, and then go back into the roadway further down to map to pick up the existing light. So it'll be a lot safer in that regard. We are going to be adding upgraded protection here. So like to maybe explore like light paving subway in the future. But this will be fully replaced with our standard signal upgrades, street lighting, but yeah, shared use path. All right. Next is Beechwood at Linden and Wilkins. This is the 5 points intersection in Squirrel North Freeze, Council District 8 and 9. This is another huge project that I'm pretty excited about. This is a very difficult intersection to navigate pedestrians, cyclists, and we are doing a lot of biggest improvement is a huge bump out on the corner between Wilkins and Linden, where it just kind of opens up all this space. And we're really shortening crosswalks crossing Beechwood and also the Linden. But this will really establish more, I guess, more normal turning radiuses, daylight pedestrian way better than they currently are. Formalize the quick build stuff that we did 2 years ago. That's just what's supposed to be right now. So we're going to add a lot more concrete to establish those. The bike lanes on Beechwood going north and south are going to get some protected elements. We're going to add some concrete protection and bring the bikes up to the stop bar more separate from vehicles, give them safer path across the intersection. We're going to add an opposite left turn lane for Wilkins. Right now, there's one eastbound. We're going to add the westbound one because it will allow us to add what we call lagging left turns. It's like a left turn arrow comes up at the end, which allows us to keep the pedestrian. So as a pedestrian is across, so we're going to add 7-second head starts to really help for all the people walking, all the students that get off here. And then the last thing we're doing is we're going to add a bus platform. Sidewalks are really tight on Wilkins. Connected to that big bump out that we're building, we're going to have bikes kind of come up at grade and go back down, but then between the bike lane and the sidewalk, between the bike lane and the roadway, we're going to add a concrete boarding platform for transit, which is pretty exciting as well. I'm sure apps that will follow with the shelter whenever we get this one done. This one might stretch into next year for construction because of the weather, but that's going to start in summer. Next is Center Ave and North Goodbridge Street in North Oakland, Council District 6 and 8. Now, this is a brand new signal. This did not exist. If you notice, it's a two-way stop. If you've never been in Oakland, it's a dicey street to try to turn off of. Center Ave is extremely busy. Making left turns out of there. It's very hard and a ton of traffic there. So the Better Warren, it's on the Highland 3 network, not in a high need community, but considering the school line nearby in a low big community, all the students nearby hit, adding this signal kind of help reduce crashes, improve pedestrian safety, trying to cross the street. And that one actually we just started breaking ground yesterday. This will have all of our standard replacements, and we'll just kind of be a new thing, completely change the context for pedestrian crossing lanes. Okay, so the next one is North and James. I had mentioned this a little bit in the North Ave one. This is a view on North Avenue at James Street. The Central North Side East Allegheny Council District 1. This one is separated from the North Avenue project, just the way the grants work and all that stuff. But this one will be built this year, kind of in connection with the North Ave project as it finishes. And this will kind of cap off that North Ave corridor project, placing this signal. Not too much extra on that one, it's standard placement.
Okay, thanks, Stan. Do we have any questions for the traffic signal section? Go ahead, Nancy.
They are, I think they're planning on construction this summer. I'll talk to the project manager on that for an exact date. I know that they've been wrapping up design or making some changes or timings in advance of those, like right now. And then I believe it's in summer, you'll start seeing construction.
Okay,
For those online, Nancy's question was, when are automated red light cameras going in?
and are those license type readers?
And the follow-up question from Nancy is, are those cameras license plate readers?
I believe that's the only way for it to
For
work.
them to track and.
Correct. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't quite usually on this project. But the way I understand it is that once that red light has come up, it then is available to take a picture. It's a picture, it's not that license plate.
We have Stephanie Gagney here who can help out with that.
Hi online. Yeah, so they'll only take pictures of the back of the vehicle and the tickets will go to the registered owner. So it's not front facing cameras. They'll take picture once the vehicle turns through the intersection.
Okay, good to know. So just a general comment for you, the signaling and stuff that you're doing at Wilkinson Beechwood, that crossing guard is so.
Yeah. He's a great guy. I've talked to him.
Like nobody else.
I've talked to him a ton. Was actually his first story is that we have an on-call contractor that we used to build stuff, Sergeant Electric. And his son works for Sergeant Electric, builds our signals. I was talking to him one day. I was crossing guard there. It was just a funny little Pittsburgh.
Exactly.
Quick question for those online. Is the room microphone working for you all? Could you hear Stephanie and Nancy when they were, before they got to the microphone?
We could hear Stephanie, but I was not able to hear Nancy.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So moving forward, we're going to be talking about bridges and structures, and we have Corbin Kramer here to talk about that. So I'll just talk about this overview slide really quick. So this program, particularly bridges, manages the inspection, maintenance, repairs, and modernization of the 143 bridges owned by the city of Pittsburgh. There's several hundred steps as well. Corbin's going to be talking about a few of those projects. The topography of Pittsburgh makes our bridges, steps, and other infrastructure essential for an essential component of connectivity and accessibility for our communities. On the right-hand side of the slide, you see a beautiful photo of Charles Anderson Bridge with a little fog down in the gully. All right, now we're going to pass it over to Corbin.
Thanks for the intro, Jeff, and thanks to everybody for being here. So yeah, from the picture you just saw on the last slide, Charles Anderson Bridge, as many of you likely know, is currently under construction. I believe that's the biggest construction project that any department in the city is managing right now. This is ongoing. We have the gates page with an updated schedule, but this is still going to be under construction for a little bit longer yet. And this does span from South Oakland, Central Oakland, where the Boulevard of the Allies kind of changes designation and it crosses into Shinley Park, which is part of Squirrel Hill South. And it is in a high-need community and on the high-end green network. And as I said, yeah, it extends from Dawson Street in Oakland to Shinley Park. And there's a lot going on here. We are rehabbing the steel, replacing some of the steel, and replacing the concrete deck. And once the new deck is in, we will be doing some lane changes. So the previous condition was 2 travel lanes, inbound and outbound to Oakland, and we'll just be taking one of those out and having a 2-way cycle track traveling through there, which can connect to some of these cycling facilities on either side. And this is still a ways out, but since this is an ongoing project, just want to keep everyone updated with that. And sorry if I'm not quite up to the mic. So next up, we've got the Panther Hollow Bridge. This is also in Shinley Park, Squirrel Hill South, District 5. This is just a little bit around the corner from Charles Anderson. This spans from, kind of that south portion of the park where the overlook and playground is, over to the north side of the park where VIPs, and eventually you go around, you get to Carnegie Mellon and Pitt. And this is a high-need community. This is not on the high-end green network. And this is a much smaller rehabilitation than Charles Anderson. And this is set to be complete this year. We are doing some steel repairs. We're not replacing the deck. It's mostly focused on repairs for the superstructure. And this won't have too many changes to the previous lane configuration. We already have the 2-way cycle track on this bridge connecting to the facilities on either side. But yes, this will be done later this summer, this fall, and will be reopened for all users. All right, next up, this is a bridge replacement slash new bridge in Allegheny Commons Park. And the picture on screen, that's actually still Panther Hollow. But we don't have a picture because the bridge isn't quite in yet for this one. So this is going in Allegheny Center in Allegheny Commons Park, Council District 1. We had a pedestrian bridge on this alignment for over 100 years, was demolished, I think about a decade ago, and we are building a new bridge. This project is a little unique compared to a lot of our other bridges. It is completely managed by Norfolk Southern, the railroad that it crosses over. We've had a lot of collaboration with them on some of these other bridge projects up and down the corridor. And as you can see now on the map, it'll provide a pedestrian connection to both sides of Allegheny Commons, whereas right now you have to go down either to Ridge Ave, West Ohio, or up and around to North Ave to get over those tracks. It's not a high-need community, not on the high-end network, but this is restoring a connection that was in place for over 100 years and will provide a lot more access to the park. And this is under construction now. It will be complete later this year. And I know compared to the original bridge that was there, the original bridge had steps going up, so it wasn't accessible to all users. The new design, it does have a ramp, so it will be, connecting into the sidewalk network on both sides of the park and accessible to all users that way.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Will it be some sort of switchback ramp to get, because I know they're planning on putting double-decker trains through there, so that would mean they'd have to climb higher to get over.
Yes. I'm not sure if the grade on this bridge is any higher than the previous one. That has been a design consideration for a lot of the other bridges on the corridor is changing that grade to meet that requirement for the railroad. So it's not too much of a switchback. It is more of a curve going on either side, so it's a little different. It's not climbing nearly as high as like the Mon switchback downtown or some of the other ones around the city. It's the design is out there. You can check it out. It's very aesthetic, blends in really well with the rest of the park architecture. So pretty excited one.
Great.
All right, moving on to some step projects. Fraser Street steps. This is in South Oakland, Council District 3. And this connects from that side of South Oakland, Fraser Street, down to Bates Street. This is not a high-need community or on the high-entry network, but this is a really key connection for that whole side of Oakland to get down to Bates, which provides other connections to the south side, Hot Metal Bridge, for the whole neighborhood. And so this is an ongoing project. A couple years ago, we demolished the existing steps, and we are still in the process of working on some utility conflicts and some other design challenges on this one. So we don't have a firm date on when these will be reopened, but construction is ongoing, and it will be a slightly different alignment compared to the original, but still providing those same connections. And we'll have new lighting. It's total reconstruction, but new lighting as well. And this will have a bike rental installed as well to provide that connection. All right, and we've got the Downing Street steps. So these are in Bullish Hill, Council District 7. You can see in the picture the existing steps. And it's not a high-need community or on the high-entry network, but this is a really key connection. Right around the corner from this on Heron Avenue is the busway stop to the East Busway. So these are very heavily used, and they do connect from Heron Avenue at the bottom to Downing Street on the top. And it provides, a much lower stress connection than Heron Avenue, which is a little bit busier of a street. And so this will also be a full construction, new railings, a little bit of new lighting as well. And we are wrapping the design up for these. Construction will start later this year. Winslow Avenue, this is down in Beachview, just off of Banksville Road, Council District 2. And this is a before picture. So you can see these steps. They run adjacent to Winslow Avenue. It's a very steep street. We don't have a sidewalk running on the whole street. The steps are acting as a sidewalk. And as you can see from the picture, they were in pretty poor condition. We had to put some wooden railings there, and it was just not a very good connection for people. And so this reconstruction is actually done. It just was finished earlier this month, or maybe late last month. And it basically spans from Toll Street, a little bit north on this map. We're seeing not quite the entire extent of Winslow, but for that portion where the worst structure was. And it's not a high-need community, not on the high injury network, but this is definitely crucial for having a safe connection for people on this corridor. And so, yeah, you should check out the pictures. We have some online, I know. Brand new concrete, new railings. We had to put a little bit of a knee wall on the slope, so we actually shifted over a couple feet, gave a little bit more room for all users there. And yeah, it's much nicer. It ended up looking really good. Right, Berry Street, these are the south side slopes, Council District 3, and you're seeing the before picture. This is looking up Berry, coming up from the intersection at Josephine. Yeah. And it's not a high need community or a high injury network, but this is another location that's had a lot of feedback from residents over the years, looking for improved connection. The conditions were pretty poor. The steps were uneven. We were having some subsidence issues on that steep slope on the side. And this actually is very close to being done. All the concrete has been finished as of this week. Public Works is getting out and putting in new railings later this week or next. And this spans not the entire length of Berry, but from the bottom, the Josephine Street intersection, all the way up to McCord Street, which is the first intersection up the hill. So these are similar to Winslow. They're running along Berry Street, and yeah, they look great. Saw the picture this morning of how the concrete turned out. Much better experience for people walking through the neighborhood now. And this is another one we just wrapped up, Englert Street. This is down in Overbrook, Council District 4. And this spans from Dartmoor Street to Fairland Street up at the top. And right at the bottom is the Overbrook Senior Center. So these are really heavily used by people in the neighborhood heading there. And also a little ways down past Dartmoor connects to Englert Street, which has a bridge to a T station as well across from Sawmill Run. So these were a really big connection. A tree fell on these steps last year, collapsed a couple of the landings. So these have been closed for about a year. These have been totally rebuilt. They've been transitioned. Originally, most of the flight was what we call elevated steps. So it had a structure that was raised off the ground. They've been rebuilt as on-grade steps, which is just a little easier for maintenance, has a little bit more longevity. So less complicated structure, less things can go wrong. And yeah, these just opened as of last week. You got new railing in there, going actually a little bit down past the steps, closer to the senior center. So really restoring a good connection there. And this is a retaining wall that just finished up. This is Serpentine Drive, Shenley Park. That's in Squirrel Hill South, District 5, I believe. And yeah, this was a retaining wall on kind of the south downhill side of the street. Serpentine Drive collapsed several years ago. So this project rebuilt the wall, had some drainage improvements, did some paving work on the street as well. It looks really good. It just finished everything structural. We were able to restore most of the original stone. This was a historic wall dating back to the 1800s, stone masonry wall in Shinley Park. So we were able to restore most of that architecture. And it looks great. It matches with a lot of the rest of the beautiful things in Shenley Park. And traffic group has also been in on this project. They'll probably be coming in a little bit and finishing the pavement markings and how those connections are going to tie in on either side. But yeah, this was another great project to get done. And this is tiny community and not on the high end green level.
Okay, thank you, Corbin. Really appreciate it. Do we have any questions for the structures project for Corbin? Go ahead, Tosh.
Thanks. Yeah, I was curious as you're looking at repair projects. Obviously, concrete is your most durable material, but it's also more expensive, I imagine. And I was thinking about, do you ever consider different materials like wood or steel when you're looking at those steps? Acknowledging things maybe don't last as long, but it be installed quickly.
Yeah. For those online, Tosh's question was related to materials, concrete being more expensive and lasting longer versus maybe cheaper, more cheaper materials like wood for executing more projects.
Yeah, thanks for the question. We do work with those materials a bit. We have some context for everybody. If you don't know, we have around 1,200 sets of steps in the city. So we've got, I think about 150 of those are made of wood. And Public Works has some great carpenters that mostly maintain those and reconstruct those as needed. So that is a pretty good chunk of the inventory, but they have a much shorter lifespan. Especially in the winter, it's not always as safe for people walking on them. It's easier for the wood to get slippery, harder to maintain that access in the winter. So typically, concrete is what we do for newly reconstructed steps. A little bit more expensive up front, but they do last a long time. We have steps that are coming up on 100 years since they've been built. So it's much easier to repair as well, concrete. We do also have a few sets of steps, usually connecting to bridges that are made of steel. So that's something we look at as well, depending on the context. But yeah, the vast majority of our inventory is concrete. We have a really strong contractor base that can work with it really well. We're pretty familiar with how it lasts and what we can do to repair it. Yeah, of course.
Great. Nancy?
Is there a way to make a suggestion for new step infrastructure?
Yeah.
And as an example, I was on an urban hike with about 10 other people, and we were going through Hayes Woods, and there's an end of it that the path trails off, and it's literally a rope that somebody, like a jump rope, and somebody had tied onto one side of a tree and then dragged it down to the other side that you hang on to as you're navigating down this little tiny footpath. And so I think maybe steps in a place like that would be a good idea. So how would I go about making that suggestion?
Okay, so for those online, the question was related to, is there a process to recommend new stairs, new steps?
Yeah. So I'll say for that example specifically, she was asking about location in Hayes Woods. Since that's in a park, we typically are focused on steps that are in the right of way, connecting to the right of way. The parks group, they have a great staff. They, for the most part, will handle that kind of infrastructure that's in the parks. So that would probably be better answered by one of them. I don't know what the long-term vision for Hayes Woods is. I know it's a little bit more natural in the park right now. I don't know if they want that kind of improvement or if they want it to be, kind of kept in a natural condition, so to say. But
it emptied out into a residential area.
Okay. Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, I would say in general though, for new step ideas or for any thoughts, comments on steps, always throw in a 3-on-1. That's how we get a lot of our notifications about steps that need repaired, as well as other potential connections too. So yeah, throw that in. And if it is something like that where it's in a park, it might not fall under Domi's responsibility, but we can make sure that it's in the right hands. Yeah, of course.
All right, great question. Anybody else have a question related to structures?
And I will just add, if nobody else has any more questions, we have a lot of other bridge projects and other structure projects that are still in the design phase. Bridge projects probably have the longest duration of any of the projects we're looking at here. So I would recommend, if you're curious about any of the ongoing ones, we have a dedicated page on Engage for city bridge projects. We have over a dozen that are in the design phase, and so you can keep up with the schedules on there. Some of them will have, they'll all have a public meeting at some point. Some of them have meetings coming up in the near future, so that's a good way to stay updated on those and give input. Just see all the work that's coming out of the pipeline.
Okay, great. If there are any other questions for Corbin, we'll move forward to a quick conclusion slide. So again, just to reiterate, our goal in DOMI is to funnel work and funds, 40% of those towards high need communities. So with that in mind, we're just going to look at these different project groups. So streets, sidewalks, and trails, 12 out of 22 projects were in high need communities, hitting 55%. 11 out of 22 were on the high injury network. For the neighborhood traffic calming and safety projects, 10 out of 32 were in high need communities for 31%. 18 out of the 32 were on the high injury network. And it's also important to keep in mind that the nature of the project will place them more often in different categories. For instance, steps aren't often on the high injury network. So with traffic signals, 2 out of the 7 projects that we talked about were in high need communities for 29%. 6 out of 7 were on the high injury network. So there you can see that kind of reflected what the program type is and where it most likely often ends up. For bridges and structures, 3 out of 9 of the projects presented were in high need communities for 33%, and 1 bridge project was on the high injury network. So combined, all 70 projects that we presented today, 27 out of the 70 were in high need communities, so just barely below that 40% mark, and 36 out of 70 were on the high injury network, marking 51%. All right, so that is the end. I'd just like to thank Paige, Katie, Avocet, Corbin, and Dan for helping me present. I couldn't have done it without you, so I really appreciate your work. If there's any questions specifically that come up at the end here, if anybody has any questions that they wanted to circle back to. I can't see. Okay, Jan, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
According to our last metric that we were using, it was. So yeah, it is interesting. It was that was our last, the J40 metric was what we were using last. And oddly enough, it was. Go ahead.
Share or send me how your project selection process works and what are the metrics that you use for ranking and how certain, in other words, I'm just trying to get an understanding of how projects are elevated and then, I understand once they're resolved, then that falls off and something else comes up underneath that. But just the very basic elements for that sense.
Okay, Nancy's question was related to project selection. I can help put together something for that and we can share it with the CSAG group.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any online? Okay, let's move forward to, oh, maybe someone. Hearing some noise. Is anybody raising their hand, Jan? Okay. All right, member updates. Does anybody have any member updates they'd like to share from their perspective parts of the world?
Jeff, is this an appropriate time to give an update about the policy subcommittee that we've been meeting about?
Yes, this is a great time. Please go ahead.
Is it possible to share my screen or?
Yep, you got it.
I'll be brief. Let me find the, I think it's this one. Yeah. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Eric Borer from Bike Pittsburgh. I've been tasked with helping lead the policy subcommittee on the refresh of the Complete Streets policy. As we all know, the Complete Streets policy, which created this group in general, is now 10 years old. We've learned a lot about what's working, what isn't working. Not that nothing's not working, but what's working, how we can improve things. And there's some basic things like DOMI didn't exist 10 years ago when the Complete Streets policy was written. So I want to make sure it's updated to reflect the current reality of how the city is structured. So we created a subcommittee to start reviewing the old policy and make recommendations for the new policy. And basically, so far we've met twice since the last full CSAG meeting. First time we met, we sort of just kind of went over a lot of the whereas statements, went over some fine details, some things we needed to basically to update, figured out some logistics so that we can comment on an actual document. A lot of our members of the subcommittee have been commenting on the document. And then we followed up with a meeting with Smart Growth America, who ranks Complete Streets policies across the nation. And they had some really good insight into sort of the process and how to move forward. And one of the things that I think that they did that was really beneficial to this group was reviewing our 2016 policy, re-reviewing our 2016 policy. In 2016, we got ranked very highly, but in 2017, they updated their ranking sort of protocol to reflect, new things that they were lacking, specifically things like equity, inclusion, stuff like that. And so what they did was they re-ranked our old policy based off of the new protocol, which was, I think, a really illuminating thing for us to go through. So in 2016, we were ranked somewhere in the 90s out of 100 possible points. But if we had submitted that in 2017, we would have gotten a 66 out of 100 possible points. And so they broke it down into different categories for us to be able to sort of give us a sense of where we need to improve, we'll say. I'll just briefly go over them really quick. They have 10 elements. The first element, we actually ranked 12 out of 12. It's sort of just establishing the commitment and vision. For element 2, how we prioritized, how our old policy prioritized underserved and underinvested communities. We got a 7 out of 9. Element 3 applies to all projects and phases. We got a 4 out of 10 on that one. So we know we need to really improve that. And they gave us some feedback on how we can improve. Element 4, exceptions. We got about half the available points, 4 out of 8. Element 5, coordination. We actually got an 8 out of 8 on that. So we probably don't need to really change too much on that. Element 6 adopts excellent design guidance. We got a 5 out of 7 on that, but we know that DOMI is working on the new design guides that might help us improve that score. Element 7, proactive land use planning. We're at an 8 out of 10, but we also are in the middle of a comp plan, which may also improve that score. Element 8 measures progress, 11 out of 13. And then 9 and 10 is where we had the least, or we need the most improvement, we'll say. So element 9 sets criteria for choosing projects. So to your point, Nancy, it's, that's something that I think we obviously need to be better at. We got a 1 out of 8, and maybe there's ways that we can be more transparent about it, how equity is embedded in the project. A lot of these things may have actually happened since 2016, but they're not written down in the Complete Streets policy. So a lot of this stuff we may just need to see what the current reality is and make sure it's actually written out in the Complete Streets policy. And then element 10, implementation, we actually ranked a 6 out of 15 on that. And there's a lot of things that, we just need to have, they recommended a lot more binding language related to procedures, plans, regulations, et cetera, et cetera. So again, I'm not going to spend too much time going into all the details on this right now. I'm going to stop sharing and then turn my camera on so you can see my face. Hi. So anyway, the next steps for us is we're going to reconvene. We haven't set that date yet, but I'll be sending out, for those on the subcommittee, I'll be sending out a doodle poll shortly. Just sort of wanted to have this meeting as the check-in before scheduling the next meetings for the subcommittee. But I guess I did have some questions for this group, if possible. Number one, we all know one of our biggest helps in DOMI, Angie Martinez, left DOMI. And so I guess one question I have is, how does that affect this effort? That position is now vacant. Are we just carrying on as, until that position gets filled? That was one question that we all had. The other question is more logistical, and maybe this is something we figure out in the subcommittee, is how do these comments get incorporated? Who's writing the next draft? How does that work? How do we physically move to the next stage? Who's going to incorporate these comments so that we can then figure out how to, then have a second round of comments, et cetera, et cetera. And then the final thing I'll report is that Smart Growth America gave us some really great resources, specifically a policy evaluation tool, so that when we're ready, we can actually pre-score our future policy or the upgrade to see how we would stack up and see how we would rank, so that we can actually see where we might need to, or where we can sort of have conversations about how we can improve that policy. Anyway, I'll stop there. If there's anyone on the subcommittee who has another comment or question, this would be a great time to ask.
Thanks, Eric. I'd just like to say that you've been doing a fantastic job leading this subcommittee and all the work that you've been putting in, and the subcommittee members, getting Smart Growth America to help us take a look, and just all your leadership on that is greatly appreciated. Yeah, so as Eric mentioned, Angie Martinez has left city government last Friday, so it's all very fresh. I suspect we'll have a new bureau chief. Angie was the bureau chief of the department the bureau that I work in. So we will be getting some new leadership. I'm fully committed to taking this as far as we can. I think that everyone that I've talked to, in Angie's absence, is fully on board. We are going to need to find As we previously discussed, we're going to need to find a council member to kind of be a champion for this endeavor. I don't plan on abandoning this. It's been 10 years. I think it's very important. I think that we put in a lot of good work. And I think that the work that we've done so far is updating and fine tuning the policy. We're not trying to radically, change its nature or necessarily its scope. We're just trying to fine tune some of the language, maintain the implementation strategies, improve implementation strategies. So the administration, as far as I know, is fully on board with safety projects, complete streets, Vision Zero. So I see no reason why we should have to stop or pump the brakes. I think that it's an important endeavor. That being said, I'm not sure who the new bureau chief is going to be, but I think that any new bureau chief would be excited to see the advisory group that we are bringing a very thoughtful and complete product to their table for them to review and move forward. There is a possibility that this policy update might be, the timetable might shift a little bit, but I would be shocked if whoever fills Angie's role would be antagonistic towards the endeavor that we're undertaking. So I think that we just need to keep moving forward. I'm going to continue to work inside of Domi to find out, what the next steps might be and who we need to coordinate with. But I think that we need to schedule our next subcommittee meeting. And again, thank you for your effort and all the subcommittee members. So, and I know that's what Angie would want. And that's what Angie said to me as she was leaving. We had a little exit conversation. So I don't see any sort of reason why we need to pivot in any sort of substantial way. So thank you. Do we have any other member updates or any other thoughts before we move on? Hey, Lisa. Yep. Would you mind?
Oh, hello. So just a, true fact, the best way for us to figure out where we need to make these improvements is through collecting data. And Pittsburgh Walks has partnered with Domi to create the sidewalk mapping tool. I don't know if you guys are. Okay, great. So we are mapping the conditions of all the sidewalks in Pittsburgh. It's an entirely volunteer-run effort. Our goal for the year is to get at least 20,000 segments mapped. We've already gotten about 3,000 segments mapped. It's lovely out, not today maybe, but it's lovely out. It's a great day to go for a walk. We would really love it if you shared with your networks. It's pittsburghwalks.org, and there's a tab on top that says Safe Sidewalks Crew. Just click on that tab. Please share that with your networks. Get your friends out walking, share it with community groups. But, this will make your job easier. It'll make our city easier. And yeah, please help out with that.
Thank you so much for that. Please share that and consider joining the endeavor. It's really great work that's going on there. On that note, as a reminder, thank you for that. The city has our travel survey, so please share that with your networks to get that out. We've had a fantastic response so far. I think over 2,200 responses, and for a population of 300,000, that puts us at about a 97%, like a sample size confidence. So we're in a really good spot. But any effort that you can help to share that travel survey would be great. I'll put that link in the chat or email it out afterward, or we can have the CSAG chair, David White, share that out. So please consider sharing that with your networks. It looks like David has a member update. Go ahead, David.
Thanks, Jeff. I just wanted to give a big thank you to the DOMI staff that presented today. The work is valuable, the effort is obvious, and the planning and forethought in the changes in our city will absolutely lead to a more livable, more comfortable, more enjoyable city to live in. So I appreciate everyone who presented today. There were some real highlights in some of the signal upgrades, some of the bike infrastructure, some of the steps, bridges. Each section had some moments that brought real smiles to my face. And I just want to say thank you to all of you. I'd like to say to repeat the thanks that Jeff extended to Eric Boer from Bike Pittsburgh for leading the policy subcommittee. This work is a little bit tedious. It requires using a editing tool on your laptop to sort of wordsmith individual phrases that can all feel a little bit hard to get through. So that effort is incredibly important. That effort has led to this group's existence. It's led to many of the conversations that we're having right now. And 10 years in, it's still just as important as it has been at any time. And so if there are other people in the room or online who are interested in participating and reviewing that policy, I'd really encourage you to reach out to me or to reach out to Eric and get involved. We really appreciate the effort of those subcommittee members. And from my perspective, I want to emphasize the importance of continuing that work on the timeline that we're on. Since the last full CSAG meeting that we've had, they did confirm the director of city planning, they did confirm the director of DOMI, and we will work with those leaders to make sure that this does get done.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. So we really made great time on this presentation. Thanks again to the project managers for all their support. Are there any final comments that anyone would like to share with the group? Okay, with that, I'd like to say thank you. Oh, one final thing. Should have said this earlier. We're going to do another CSAG field visit. So if you have any ideas, I'll be putting the slide deck online after I make a few edits that I noticed. Review that slide deck. If there's a project that is interesting to you that you want to do a field visit to, last year we did Penn Avenue, and the year prior to that we did the Penn Circle over in East Liberty. There's kind of some candidates that I think would be pretty interesting and fun for the diversity of the different infrastructure elements that are present. But if there's any project that you thought would be fun to do a field visit for with the group, that will be our next CSAG group-wide event. So review that slide deck and let me know if there's anything that if there's any project that you'd like to take a look at. All right. And with that, I'll just say thank you and have a great day.